Welcome back to Rumi Gold, where quiet mastery begins. What if presence could change your bank account? What if the morning wasn't a launchpad for hustle, but a tuning fork for wealth? What if rest was your greatest multiplier, not your liability? What if wealth wasn't a hunt, but a remembering? Where have you been running on autopilot, thinking this is what it takes to build? Today we explore the monk's morning shift, not as a tactic, but as a truth. What does your body feel waking up in your bed, knowing the world wants your attention before you even move? Where, in your chest or jaw, does the urge to check your phone grip you, as if missing something would cost you survival? Let's name the cost. The noise keeps you exhausted. The hurry leaks your energy before the real work begins. Every time you start by reacting, you're giving away your edge, mentally, emotionally, even spiritually. You already know this. Most of what the world calls success still leaves you hollow after the applause. Counting, scrolling, racing, multitasking. These are not superpowers. They are leaks, holes in the vessel, disguised as discipline. Let that breathe. I can remember my own years in that current, waking up as if behind, racing to inboxes, thinking every fire was mine to put out. It never made me more powerful. It just made me tired, tense through noon, numb by dusk, then wide-eyed at 2 a.m., afraid it wasn't enough. There's nothing noble about showing up worn down, but when I learned to claim the first 10 minutes as sacred, just breath, spine, a still room, the whole pattern shifted. I watched my work become cleaner. Decisions got simple. Money flowed in waves instead of fits and starts, because I showed up whole, not hungry, still not scattered. There's something here. Stay with it. Today is about one small shift, beginning the day like a monk, so wealth multiplies by resonance. No struggle, just a steady, quiet presence. That's the discipline. Picture this. You wake up before breath finds its rhythm, before there's even sunlight on the window. Your hand reaches, not for water, not for a moment of softness, but a rectangle of blue light, your phone. Before you are even in your body, you are in someone else's world. Inboxes, feeds, a swirl of numbers, urgencies, digital hands grabbing at your time. That's how so many have been trained to start the day. The culture says, hustle. The earlier you rise, the further you sprint, the richer you'll become. Attack the morning, they call it. Pour the caffeine, check the messages, reply before you're even wholly awake. Because if you don't get ahead, you'll fall behind. Scarcity tucked into breakfast. But quietly, I'll tell you, this is like planting seeds in dry, cracked concrete. Doesn't matter how many seeds you spill out. Nothing real grows if the ground is wrong. You can work harder, louder, longer, but if your state, the ground under your habits, is brittle with fear or lack, all your effort rushes sideways, like collecting water in a broken bowl. Let that echo. There's this man I once knew. He was sharp, determined. Every morning he'd set his alarm for 5 o'clock, eyes still crusted from dreams. His hand would reach for the phone before his feet met the carpet. Scroll, check, reply. 30 minutes gone to headlines, other people's wins, other people's problems, a rush of urgency before the sun even touched his home. He told himself this was discipline, but quietly underneath was a slow leak of spirit, a draining away of presence before the day began. His fuel was fear. If he stopped, he'd lose ground. If he didn't stay updated, he wouldn't be enough. By noon, Even after grinding, there was a hollowness. The fullness of real wealth never arrived. Inbox cleared, bank account static, spirit thinner. Can you feel that? This isn't about being right. You already know this. You've lived the loop. Hustle as a mask for scarcity. Rush as a substitute for clarity. Inbox as a menu of everyone's agenda but your own. The world tells you, act first, calibrate later. But what if it's the opposite? What if real wealth, the kind that sticks, the kind you feel in your chest, comes from calibrating first, acting second? Most were never taught this. Nobody showed us how to sit quietly for a minute before running into action. Nobody modeled checking in before checking out. There's nothing to prove. That's the discipline. What if the first move toward wealth was just 3 minutes of silence before anything else? What if you didn't have to check your phone or check your balance before you checked in with your breath? What if the state of your nervous system mattered more than any plan, any target, any strategy you'd ever learn? What if the real reason money feels heavy is because your body never got a chance to feel safe in the first place? What if the root of sufficiency lives only one slow breath away? We're taught to move fast. It's common. Roll out of bed, hit the ground running, check overnight messages, coffee, news, meetings, hoping that if you move quick enough, chase hard enough, you'll catch what you need. But here's the shift. The man who leads with breath, not with panic, changes everything. Before you brush off sleep, before you touch a screen, before you even think of chasing, just stop, just sit. 3 minutes, that's it. Breathe deep, in 4 counts. Hold out for 6. As you let your exhale empty, imagine you're letting go of that old fear of not having enough, fear of being behind. 3 rounds, that's all. Then pause, hand on chest, quietly ask, what would abundance feel like today? Nothing dramatic, nothing mystical, just a simple signal to your whole system that you already have what you need. Because the science is simple, not mysterious. When your breath is shallow, your brain reads danger, your heart rate speeds up, you move into fight or flight. That's the scarcity state, the one we call hustle. But the longer your exhale, the slower your mind. That your parasympathetic nervous system, kicking in your biology, way of saying, it's safe now. You're not being threatened. You can build, not just survive. The deeper your breath, the more your cells get the message. They can rest, repair, regenerate. That is the foundation for any kind of growth. Without that switch, every action you take is just survival. With it, you move from force into flow. I watched a client shift his entire life with this. He ran a business, but started every day already behind, rushing into calls, pushing hard. The moment he claimed 3 minutes to breathe, just 3 minutes, his tone changed. He closed bigger deals. Negotiations became less about grasping, more about clarity. The room felt him differently. There was a new gravity, not forced, not desperate. That's the discipline. Think about soil. You don't throw seeds into dry ground and expect them to bloom. You water first. Breath is the water of your nervous system. Don't skip the watering. If you plant your goals before your nervous system is ready, nothing takes root. But when you breathe first, your mind, body, and spirit become rich soil. Wealth isn't forced, it grows. Even ancient texts knew it. The first wealth granted to mankind wasn't gold, wasn't land. It was the breath of life itself. To honor your breath before the world pulls at you is to acknowledge reality. You were given abundance just by waking up. Let that land. There's nothing to prove. There's nothing to rush. 3 minutes of breath every morning, and you shift the gravity of your entire life. Again, 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 until your system knows wealth is already here. What if the first thing you touched in the morning was your own stillness, not someone else's noise? What if you set the hour's tone before any stranger's agenda reached for your attention? What if your inbox was a door, and only you decided when to open it? Let's sit with that. Most people roll over and reach for a screen, thumb scroll, blinking awake, inbox, text, notification. It's so normal, you don't even notice. An inbox is just a bucket for other people's priorities. Every time you check it first, you say, "Here, I'm open. Take my focus, set my mood." A monk doesn't allow the world in until his inner house is swept and quiet. That's not accidental. It's architectural. You already know this. When you begin your day by reacting before you've anchored yourself, there is no ground from which to give. You arrive at work, half drained, seeking clarity in a storm. But clarity can only come from space. The discipline is giving yourself that space, first even 10 minutes, even 30. Sovereignty is what you practice before a single reply leaves your hands. For me, it's 90 minutes. I don't touch messages. I move through ritual. Light a small candle. 3 unhurried breaths. A reminder. I respond as a giver, not a beggar. It's just me. The room is quiet. My attention feels both expensive and entirely mine. This isn't about motivation. I've seen it transform people. A woman I worked with stopped opening her inbox until after her most creative hour. She noticed double the productivity, then double the income. What changed? She started as a creator, not a reactor. Spiritually, it's simple. A vessel must be filled before it pours. You've kept tabs on money before, watched numbers rise and fall in bland little apps, sometimes with worry, sometimes with pride. But what if this was never only about the math? What if every dollar you move carries its own weather, a charge, a memory, a breath? And what if you could see it right there each time you wrote it down? Here's what most people miss. Traditional financial tracking feels like a cold stare, just columns and totals, a sense of tightness. It makes you smaller, so you avoid it, or you check obsessively, hoping for a shot of control. Either way, the heart of money, energy in motion, gets buried. The monk's way is quieter. Every time money leaves your hands, don't just log the number. Pause. Ask, what am I really trading? Sometimes it's joy, buying lunch for a friend. Sometimes it's service, supporting a cause. Other days, it's fear, resentment, or just habit. Write the amount, then write the energy. $45, groceries, gratitude. Or $210, rent, tension, but safety. You do this when money enters, too. Someone pays you. Write the number, then the frequency. Appreciation, relief, expansion, simple template, date, amount, description, energy. You might write June 18th, $7, coffee, joy. Or June 19th, $1,200 paycheck, survival relief. See the difference. When you name it, you see it. When you see it, you can change it. Let's sit with that. A man I know tried this for 7 days. He found out half his bills were paid with low-level bitterness. Every time he labeled one as resentment, the drag in his chest got heavier. But he started blessing the electricity bill. Light in my home, warmth for my family. Little by little, different money started showing up. more than he expected, from places he never predicted. Think of a garden. You don't just measure how many seeds you throw in the ground. You check the soil, feel for moisture, watch for sunlight. The energy of growth is a mix, not just a count. Or, like in Kabbalah, they say wealth is like light flowing into a vessel. If your vessel is full of holes, leaks of anger, fear, or shame, the light won't stay. But if you keep the vessel tuned to gratitude, to conscious circulation, more comes, not faster, but clearer. There's nothing to prove. Money multiplies where attention is gentle, not frantic. It returns to hands that bless, not grasp. That's the practice. Keep your energetic ledger, just a plain notebook, not a ritual, not secret. Notice which exchanges give life and which pull you under. If you feel stuck, use this phrase when you write. This is a sacred exchange. Even the smallest transaction, even the ones that sting, just witness the energy. For 7 days, do this. Watch how your sense of wealth begins to shift. Not overnight, but quietly. It doesn't have to be dramatic to be true. That's the discipline. You already know the surface routines, but underneath, the real foundation is simple. Breath first. Before the world grabs you by the collar, you plant your feet in the field of your own chest. You breathe in what you do want. You let out what you don't. That's how a day is seeded. Wealth enters through the body, not the mind. One exhale can buy more clarity than 1,000 plans. Let that land. Then comes the ritual of your inbox. Not to check, not to chase, but to reclaim the first hour as sovereign ground. No one touches your mind before you do. You become the keeper of your own presence. Discipline here isn't loud. It's like stone, cold, still, certain. Most days, that's enough. Now the money. It isn't numbers, it's living current. Every note and transfer echoes back at you. Proof of the world's trust, your exchange, your own stewardship. Watch the frequency, not just the amount. Track what you invite, honor what you release. This isn't about motivation. Try these moves for 1 week, not to prove, but to witness. You'll notice a lightness, like windows opened after a long night. The day becomes ordered. Small things feel sufficient. New opportunities knock because your inner door is open. That's the discipline. If you woke up and chose breath, if you opened the day on your terms, if you let your ledger become a living mirror, it would feel like power without pressure. Let me leave you something to work with. I root my day before I reach. I root my day before I reach. I keep my field clean. I keep my field clean. Money moves as I move. Money moves as I move. Distraction weakens. Distraction weakens. Emptiness is not lack. Emptiness is not lack. Silence grows value. Silence grows value. Presence multiplies prosperity. Presence multiplies prosperity. I honor what flows out as much as what comes in. I honor what flows out as much as what comes in. I lead from clarity. I lead from clarity. I lead from clarity. Let this day be a well dug deep. Let the water be clear and the hands that draw from it steady.